Hey friends, how's it going? Ash here. Welcome back to Gents. It is Acqua di Gio time once again. This time, Acqua di Gio Eau de Parfum 2024. That's right. Acqua di Gio Eau de Parfum 2024. How different is it than the original Acqua di Gio Eau de Parfum? That's what we're going to talk about here today. Now, of course, there is also Acqua di Gio Profundo 2024, which I have already covered. So if you haven't seen that video, check it out if you want to know my thoughts on that one. Back to the Eau de Parfum, though, this new 2024 edition, as of when I'm filming this video, is available in Europe, but unfortunately not in the US. So I had to order it from Europe, and just like my bottle of Acqua di Gio Profundo 2024, it is in a pathetically small, doofy looking 30 ml size bottle. I don't have a ton of pet peeves when it comes to fragrance sizes, concentrations, anything like that, other than I pretty much universally hate 30 ml size bottles. Unless it's something like a brand like Nasomato where everything is that size, but I hate this. It's even smaller than the 40 mils that I guess they used to do. Like the original Acqua di Gio Eau de Parfum, if you got that in its smallest size on Armani's website or Ulta or Macy's or something, it would be this size bottle, 40 mils. But they said, now 40 mil thing, that extra 10, just get rid of it. Just go ahead and get rid of it. So we have a cool 30 mil size bottle. And yeah, you're probably noticing here that it looks suspiciously similar to the existing, or I guess previous at this point, Acqua di Gio Eau de Parfum concentration. And that is because apparently the 30 mil size of the new Acqua di Gio Eau de Parfum does not come with the cool gradient bottle that looks like this over here. Oh, so cool. Nice. Yeah, you have to buy a larger size bottle to get that cool gradient. So in the future, I'll go ahead and scoop one of those up when they come to the US. In the meantime, this will have to do. And when I do scoop up the nicer looking gradient bottle, I'll give this one away to one of you guys. Yeah, 30 ml bottle. Wow, you're so generous. All I'm saying is the new Profundo, if you get the 30 ml, comes with the gradient. Unacceptable. I have only had this for a couple days, so keep that in mind. These are essentially first impressions. There's a lot to dig into here. How similar or different is this from this? Is this the same strength as that? Does it smell as good, worse, better than this? All that stuff we will talk about and try to figure out what's going on here. Let's kick it off by taking a closer look at the little petite presentation. So here's a look at the box, really bare bones, almost resembles a tester box to an extent. On the front, you have the name of the house, name of the fragrance, size and concentration, Armani logo up top, QR code on the side of the box. You have information on the back, including your ingredients and your barcode, and on the bottom, your batch code. What is that? 38X702L. Like the new Profundo 2024, it would appear based on the batch code that these went into production toward the end of last year, even though they haven't been for sale until now. Here's a look at the bottle. Again, the 30 ml size does not look the same as the larger size bottles will because they'll have a gradient. This does not. So this 30 ml looks quite similar to the existing Acqua di Gio Eau de Parfum other than the cap. The cap now has a black plastic look to it instead of being wood like on the original. On the front, you have the name of the house, name of the fragrance, and the concentration as well. Sticker on the bottom with your batch code, and the cap clicks into place quite snugly. Then you have the Giorgio Armani logo on top of the cap and the atomizer. Let's go ahead and share a couple sprays here of the little itty bitty 2024 edition, and then we'll spray the original as well. All right, here we go. Nice. Before we start talking about how this one smells versus this one, I do want to plug my extra channel, Extra Gents Scents. So if you want more fragrance reviews, lists, and just other fragrance content in general, check that one out. So Extra Gents Scents on YouTube. You can find me there as well. And also the codes, of course, they're linked in the description and they are also right here. Peruse the codes, use them if you so desire to save money at any of these different websites. Let's start with the notes of Acqua di Gio Eau de Parfum 2024. So when this was first announced on iFragrance, they had in the base incense as one of the notes. And that got a lot of people excited because they were like, hey, Acqua di Gio Profumo that had a good amount of incense, then it was switched over to Parfum, and maybe some people don't like the little tweaks and changes that were made between Profumo and Parfum. So when they saw incense there, they thought, now we're talking. This is gonna kind of take that place that Profumo had in the entire Acqua di Gio lineup. But not to be the bearer of possibly bad news, when I purchased this one, the notes that they had in the listing for this did not include incense. So you know, like when you go to Macy's or Ulta or wherever, they'll have like the note breakdown for each fragrance. It's not always exhaustive, right? You can sometimes find note breakdowns on those websites that don't have all the actual notes, but it will have usually what the brand is kind of putting forward for that fragrance. This one did not have incense. I'll give you the note breakdown. Really simple, this one, just 5 notes. Marine notes and green mandarin off the top, sage in the mid, just sage, and then in the base, vetiver, patchouli. So essentially, just a simplified note breakdown of Acqua di Gio Eau de Parfum. Nothing really changing, just some things removed essentially. The mineral notes removed, geranium removed, lavender removed. So when you see that note breakdown there, you think to yourself, oh, yeah, just a streamlined Acqua di Gio Eau de Parfum. Cool. Exciting. So not a whole lot to glean from that note breakdown. Now, in the Acqua di Gio Profondo 2024 video, I let you guys know the differences that I picked up and other people picked up as well between the 2024 iteration and the original. I'll tell you though, straight up off the top, Acqua di Gio Eau de Parfum 2024 smells a lot closer to Acqua di Gio Eau de Parfum than the new Profondo does to the old Profondo. So with these two, decent amount of differences, and you're gonna have people pick sides and say, this one's better or this one's better. Of course, you'll still have some people that say, oh, they're super similar, but these two, I think more people are gonna be able to pick out the differences. These two, I think you'll have a decent amount of people who say, 6 half dozen, it's about the same. Are there some differences? Yes, I think so, but it's not as big as the difference between Parfum and Profumo. It's not as big as the difference between the new Profondo and the old Profondo. These are pretty close. So let's go ahead and spray on skin here real quick and walk through the opening, and then I'll let you know how they change as well into the mid and the dry down. Again, just first impressions, keep that in mind. I have not been able to wear this out and about multiple times or anything. I've only had it a couple days. Off the top, these two are really similar. So if you spray these on side by side, go in immediately for a smell, basically the same. I do think that the new iteration, a little bit like the new Profondo, is slightly sweeter off the top. Again, a much smaller difference here than in Profondo, but slightly sweeter. And Acqua di Gio Eau de Parfum, initially the original, the non-2024 edition, since we're gonna have to go back and forth on that for a while now, I guess, but the original Acqua di Gio Eau de Parfum is slightly greener, which again is in line with how the new Profondo is as well. The new Profondo is much more noticeably fresher and a little sweeter, not as minerally, not as green, and just overall has a more easygoing scent profile than the original Profondo does. This one is a little bit like that, just not taken as far, or these two, I should say. So that herbaceousness, that slight earthiness that you have in Acqua di Gio Eau de Parfum, the original, comes out sooner than it does in Acqua di Gio Eau de Parfum 2024, and actually is a little more recognizable in Acqua di Gio Eau de Parfum original. So it feels like that clary sage comes out with a little more pop in the OG. It has a touch more of like funkiness to it, if that makes any sense, in the original. Whereas this one stays fresher. It is still green, but it stays more on that fresh aromatic side without taking on as much of an herbaceousness with an underlying of earthiness that this has. The minerality, once again, a little more pronounced in the original Acqua di Gio Eau de Parfum as compared to the Acqua di Gio 2024 edition of Eau de Parfum. Although there is one thing that actually comes out a little more to me as it dries down in the new one as compared to the old one. And that is this sometimes fleeting smell that you can pick up from Acqua di Gio Eau de Parfum, both the original and the new one, but more prominent in the new one, of almost like a cannabis note. Now, obviously not everybody's going to interpret it that way, but I promise you, if they put cannabis as an official note in this fragrance, there would be a lot of people out there who would go, wait a second. I get it. I smell the weed. I thought I was going crazy with this because I didn't get it as much in this one, but I would catch wafts throughout the day, the last couple days that I've been wearing this. I would be like, man, it's like a light cannabis note. And again, it's kind of melding with that aromatic feel that this one has, but there are times when you catch a waft and you'll be like, that smells just like a cannabis note. And then you come in closer and it's gone. You'll be like, huh, that was weird. Kind of go about your day, 5-10 minutes later, poof, catch it again. And you're like, I know I smelled it that time. I know it was there. So in the opening, the new one is a little more focused on the citrus, on that sea salty marine feel in the open. And this one has that as well. Like I said, when you first spray these on, they're pretty much identical. But in the original, it segs out of that quicker. You head to the mid quicker. And that clary sage, especially the patchouli with an earthiness, with an earthy aspect, with an herbaceousness to it, comes out quicker here. And I would say that the new one stays a little cleaner through the mid, even though they are quite similar. But then that cannabis note, that weed note, it's kind of there in flux in the new one. Sometimes you really won't smell it much at all. Other times you catch a whiff and then another and another and another, and it smells like it's very prominent. To the point that I was legitimately saying to myself, as I said earlier, they could put that note in the note breakdown, and I don't think too many people would question it. Especially when you compare it to some other fragrances out there that have that note and you smell it and you go, dude, there's none of that here. What are you talking about? But there are other times that you'll wear this fragrance, you won't pick it up a lick, not a bit. Still yet, it does appear more prominently here than there. The dry down is largely similar between the two. Not a massive difference there. Again, vetiver patchouli going to be the focal point there. The patchouli giving you a little earthiness to go along with that woody aspect that Acqua di Gio Eau de Parfum has. A little less minerality over here. You can still pick up some of it, but there is noticeably less in the new 2024. And I would say on the whole that these two, as I said, are probably the closest between the ones that I've smelled, the new iteration. So that's Parfum and Profumo, the new Profundo and the original Profundo, and then this and this. I think these are the closest smelling to each other, I mean. Whereas the new Profundo off my skin performed better than the original Profundo. Here it's about a wash. No big difference between the two. This one over here, like with Profundo, if you were going to just dumb it down very simply, is a lightly fresher, lightly sweeter version of Acqua di Gio Eau de Parfum, with not as much of a focus on the clary sage as you head through the mid, and with less of an earthy aspect to it. This one has a little more herbaceousness to it, and this one has a sneaky weed aspect to it. But I want to reiterate that I don't think everybody is going to key in on that way, the way that this one comes across. Some are just going to go, oh, little green, aromatic, fresh. Other people will understand what I'm saying and will be like, oh, I get it. But I think that that's going to be one of those notes that is a little bit, like I said before, in flux. Going to be one of those things that sometimes it's there and you go, oh, I key in on it. Other times it doesn't exist. What are you talking about? So it's going to be that kind of deal. So this one, it's pretty close to straight up redundant if you already own Acqua di Gio Eau de Parfum. I'm going to keep wearing this one just to see how I come around to it, see if I pick up on more differences as I wear it more. But this is really close to this. I know I mentioned differences here, but that really is one of those going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth kind of things where you pick those up. And this one I had people smell side by side with this one. And yeah, most people were like, oh, those are really close. So while there are some minor changes here, this is not a big departure from that at all. Still smells good though, but Profundo smells better. There we go, guys. Acqua di Gio Eau de Parfum 2024. Smells nice. Nothing was ruined here. In fact, quite similar. Basically, they got rid of the wooden cap, but then they're gonna give you a gradient and then they very lightly tweaked it, very lightly is what it comes across to me. Maybe some people will find this more appealing than this, because I know one of the things that people were sometimes turned off about with Acqua di Gio Eau de Parfum is that herbaceousness that it has, that little bit of earthiness that it has. They would smell that and go, maybe it smells a little classier to some people than the original Acqua di Gio, but still others were turned away by that. And that has been, again, tweaked in a small way here, to where that has been tamped down slightly here, and a little smidge of sweetness added in, but not a massive change, not massive. All right, guys, that'll do it for me. Thank you for hanging with me here. Stay safe out there, guys. I'll see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you later.